Welcome back to Face to Face. I'm Jessica.
Hey, I'm Campana, and I'm about to get my first facial. Been looking forward to this all week.
Ooh, that's what I like to hear.
Yes.
So basically, we will be doing a custom facial treatment. We'll double cleanse your skin, and then we'll get creative and do some good facial massage and customize from there.
How difficult is it usually doing facials on clients with like beards?
I think it's kind of fun. I think I don't have a ton of clients with facial hair, so I feel like it's an opportunity to do something different. Like sometimes we'll do almost like a beard treatment.
Oh yeah.
Like, why not?
Yeah, why not? Let's get it.
So you have lots of exciting things coming.
Yes.
By the time this comes out, your single should have dropped.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about what we should be expecting from this single?
Yeah, so my single Any Minute, it's out now on all streaming platforms, and pretty much this song kind of like tackles like current like everyday like relationships, especially like in today's day and age with just the current culture around dating, social media, you know, all of those things going into play that kind of like affect like relationships to an extent, and kind of like influence the path and trajectory of it ultimately. And you know, just trying to give perspective and shine light on those type of situations. But yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah, it's a real, you know, upbeat.
Like a summer bop.
Yeah, I'd say so. It's definitely summer vibe. It features the homies, Ashawn, who's from Kansas City, and one of my main frequent collaborators, Dave Shanae. But yeah.
We're in for a treat.
Yeah.
Are you having any visuals alongside your single?
Yeah, so the music video is also out now as well. You can see that on YouTube. Yeah, it pretty much like, I feel like narratively like tackles the concept pretty well of kind of like how I described the you know, general feeling or concept of the song. And that was shot and directed by Finn Baker and Rolando Robes. And they're like two pretty prominent like directors, videographers within the scene here, but a part of like the, you know, younger generation. So it's cool to be able to, you know, work and collaborate with a lot of like newer folks coming on the scene, considering I've been, you know, working a lot within Seattle. I've been collaborating with a lot of just different artists for like the past decade. So
For sure.
yeah, it's exciting times for sure.
Can you talk a little bit more about how you've curated this team that you're currently working with? I know you've talked about, you know, some of these people are new on the scene or just coming up. Like, how do you connect and make that relationship?
Yeah, so I feel like over the years, there's either been like a lot of people who just that I've collaborated with who've just moved or like stopped making music, or have had different plans, or whatever the case may have been, to where it's like the main thing for me was always trying to keep like my core branding and like strategy intact, to where it's like if I want to like execute something or have something done in this specific fashion, I'll make sure like I'm always behind the creative direction, to make sure like all of my stuff can like stay cohesive for the most part. So a lot of the newer people I've been working with have been like pretty much post-pandemic. Just seeing a lot of just newer people just from networking, a lot of people like now being in Seattle now, or like even like a lot of younger folks who were damn near teens or in high school like during the pandemic, and like are now like actively on the scene doing a lot of work now.
For sure.
I've been working with a lot of like folks like that, and kind of been able to develop a team of like just practically folks who I've like developed those interpersonal relationships with, but also have uh, been able to work like with flexibly and like on a availability basis, because it's like with like a lot of my content revolves heavily around like just film and just a lot of things nowadays revolve around like visuals and things like that. But I feel like that's always been like a heavy component of my brand.
Mm-hmm.
So, just being able to work with a lot of filmmakers and videographers with a lot of different projects, but being able to still keep the vision intact has been very beneficial for me, because it's like when going into work with someone, if like they're not available, there's not a lack of resource when it comes to like someone else to work with who could, collaborate and execute my vision accordingly, and also just being able to see what they can bring to the table as well. So
For sure. With that in mind, because you've been on the scene for a while now,
yes.
how did that brand development process go? Like, did you initially have a vision in mind of like, this is how I want this aesthetic and this overall like flow to look and sound? Did you have that off the bat, or is it something that's kind of evolved with time?
Yeah, it's definitely something I'd say that hasn't evolved with time. I'd say my vision for my brand and my art has definitely changed over time,
Sure.
but like I've always kind of been in the process of like building the plane while I'm flying it. So
Mm.
like I've been able to kind of like throw shit at the wall and see what sticks, and like really like develop my sound in that fashion, and be able to really like have a lot of trial and error and a lot of moments where I've allowed myself to fail, to really like be able to learn from those experiences and really like develop and hone my craft. And I feel like one thing that's been pretty foundational to just me and my artistry and the core of just who I am as a whole is I've always been so uh, ambitious and heavily like involved with like the process and work ethic of whatever I do. So it's like it makes the journey that much more fun, to where it's like all these years I've been creating music, I've never really been focused on like what type of fame or celebritism it could bring, because I just know uh, just me focusing on sharpening my artistry is like what fulfills me more than most things. So it's been really cool to be able to, still look back on all of the, stuff that I've released over all these years in the whole catalog, and really see the progression in sound and just delivery and everything, like the full package with all my music. And uh, it's it's interesting to say that now, because I feel like I used to listen to a lot of my older stuff and really like be embarrassed in a sense, to where it's like I wouldn't want anyone to like hear my older stuff and things
Really?
like that. But I've started to really like nowadays take pride in like catalog, because it's like nowadays it's like you see a lot of artists like getting big or blowing up, and they don't really have that brand development behind them, to where it's
Mhm.
like you can't really find a catalog or anything existing behind them. But like me, just being a consumer of music just from a fan standpoint as well, like what has allowed me to really like dive into an artist or really become a core fan of an artist is being able to like dig into like a lot of their older like catalog, and be able to really see their journey and growth as an artist. So I've started to just realize the importance of that more. And I say all that to say I actually just uh, put all of my older albums and mixtape back on streaming. So a lot of that now you can listen to on Spotify and Apple Music as of like today. So
I was just gonna ask you about that, is if you're somebody who's like wiped their old stuff off the internet, or what
yeah,
your feeling was on that. And I think I agree, honestly, because I think that's when a lot of people start going, they're a industry plant or whatever. There's no, and it's like,
Exactly.
well, there's no timeline to follow. Of course, people are
I'm
gonna
gonna
have,
think that.
yeah.
Yeah.
When in reality, it's like you've been putting stuff out forever, and you just wanted a clean slate to be like, this is the new hot stuff.
Exactly. And it's like I understand both standpoints.
Mm-hmm.
And like even from like I feel like being called an industry plant or people having that perception of someone being an industry plant. At the end of the day, I feel like even if people like if I were to like pop on a mainstream level and people were to think I were an industry plant, yeah, from that perspective, I do have so much back catalog available to where it's like that narrative would be so hard to run with.
Yeah.
And I've never really thought of it in that fashion, really, more than like just being proud of my work, but also that
Right.
is a benefit to, you know, if you do see like mainstream success, like being able to have people like go back to that catalog and see like how long you've been doing it. So I really started to cherish the beauty in that for
Yeah.
sure.
I think it's easy to get nitpicky with your own stuff though,
Yeah.
especially with how things are now. I think like super green people on the scene, they
Hmm.
have so many resources that I feel like
Yeah.
even 5 years ago were not available. So
Yeah.
it's like the quality level of people like super fresh on the scene starting now is just different.
It's gonna be a different bar for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
And like the fact that it is just like such a oversaturated industry, it's like people kind of have that like newfound chip on their shoulder to where it's like I the bar has to be raised
Yeah.
because like the quality, well, I mean I won't say only, but like majority of things that are going to be pushed to the front are going to be quality. So it's like if you don't have that first and foremost, then it's like you're already starting way far behind.
Right.
So but yeah, no, that is a good point, like because it's like it's if someone were to go back to listen to my stuff from like 2012 or 2014, they would give me as an artist from that perspective way more grace than I would give myself
Yeah.
from listening to my stuff in hindsight, just because I know, you know, just how much I've developed since those moments.
Oh, for sure. I feel like Billie Eilish is one that I look back at her old stuff because her and her brother did so much of their recording initially like at home in their bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, I can really appreciate that because it's still good quality, but you can hear the progression over
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, no, that's good, and yeah, she started super early too, considering she's
Mm-hmm.
still really young. So yeah, there's a lot of beauty in the process, and I've started to learn that more as I've gotten older and started to see a lot of newer artists like pop.
Do you feel like you have any advice for somebody just starting out? Would you say it's something like try and connect with other people or maybe like try and get these core things set up?
Really, I'd say stay focused on like your branding as an artist and like really like trying to you know, get across who you are in your story, because I feel like every artist is so unique just as a person. First and foremost, nobody ever has the same story.
Yeah.
So it's like with music, there's a lot of like honestly like cookie cutter like type sound or approaches to music to where it's like people as consumers are starting to like see through like the gimmick really.
Yeah.
And like if you're not really offering like consumers more than music and not really being able to allow them to dive into you as the person, uh you're not going to really see people resonate with you as an artist. So it's like really focusing on, you know, just being yourself and how you could brand that in a unique way to make that marketable. But aside from that, like focusing on just the music and really honing in on what that means to you and what you ultimately want to see from it. And like the quicker you come to terms and establish like where you want to be with music and like really holding those core fundamentals as you progress through your journey,
Mhm.
I feel like it'll allow you to really stay level headed, uh, when like opportunities begin to or don't even begin to come your way.
Right.
Um, and so, yeah, just focusing on those things really, and, knowing that if you're truly like making like art that you believe in, that's really close to you, uh, and you release that for the world to consume, like you should never feel bad about anyone critiquing that or feeling a certain way about that, because at the end of the day, you would hate to release some sort of product that you feel like someone has influenced you to like release, or you feel like that you're not really connected to fully, and then people critique that, and then you try to be defensive about what
Mm.
you didn't even want to release in the first place. So
Yeah. Do you feel like that's tricky, especially when you start getting labels involved or management
yes,
involved?
definitely. When you have a lot of different like eyes and ears on the product as a whole, it does begin to get a little tricky. But that's why at the beginning of the journey, establishing like those things for yourself and really knowing like what that means to you will help when those type of situations arise.
Yeah. Something I've noticed with your overall brand, you're always putting out visuals with your songs.
Yep.
And I can really appreciate that. Is it something you had in your mind when you're writing and initially putting stuff out?
Yeah, definitely. I would say a lot of the times, yes. I just come from a very like film oriented like background,
Mm-hmm.
just video production as a whole. I like grew up just in high school taking film production classes, and like really having a love from like the production side of film. And so I knew that was something that heavily I always wanted to have involved in my brand. And so naturally, it just became something that was a part of my branding. But now, with the current landscape of things, it's like a lot of people are listening with their eyes. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like that's how content is being consumed nowadays. So it just works even more so to my benefit, because I've been doing this for so long to where I've been able to exercise that muscle within my brand to really be able to like develop it and like build upon it. So it's like a lot of like times when I am creating songs, I am really like trying to think of it from a visual perspective. Not necessarily while I'm making the songs, but kind of like after the song is created. But with a lot of what I did for my most recent album, Matter of Time, I did create a whole short film behind it. But as I was writing and creating the songs and developing the concept behind it, I was also writing the script to it as well to kind of like
That's really cool.
make it as conceptual and cohesive as possible. So, yeah.
What does a timeline look like when you're building this type of project? Because an album, for one, plus a short film,
Hmm.
what does that look like as you're building it out?
Yeah. So, as far as an album goes and the short film, so I can tell you the timeline pretty much for Matter of
Okay.
Time. So, Matter of Time came out in 2021 in July, so it's coming up on the 3 year anniversary. And I started writing the earliest songs probably as of 2017,
Okay.
2018. But the album, as far as the songs go, were damn near working towards being completed by the end of 2020.
Okay.
But in 2019, prior to the pandemic, uh, I pretty much had went to Swim Team, which is the production crew that ended up shooting. Sorry, my eye's been so itchy.
It's
It's my
okay.
contacts. But
Sorry.
uh, I worked with uh, the creative direction company Swim Team,
Okay.
which one of my really good friends runs, and at the end of 2019, pretty much went to them with the proposition of like, yo, I want to do a whole short film behind this. Kind of came with the skeleton of like the just gist of the concept and the script, and then from there started developing the treatment and all the pieces from the film perspective. And this at this time the album was probably like 60% done. And so going into 2020, uh, the pandemic ended up happening. So it really like put a halt to a lot of things. But also it gave me a lot of time to really sit with the music and finalize the rest of what I was doing with the project, to where I was like, all right, I have so much time during lockdown and quarantine. Let me really sit and develop the script for the film.
Right.
And so this was pretty much the entirety of 2020 while I was finalizing the album. And so the album was pretty much done at the end of 2020 for the most part. And then I had the album completely done. And while uh, the script was being written, we started going into pre-production for the film. So we started having minor writing rooms. So developing the script, I worked alongside Lexscope with a lot of the script for like just developing like the characters' tones and just personalities and things like that. So we really put thought into like the story behind each character, even though it wouldn't really carry much weight, still like kind of creating a whole world behind the script.
Right.
And so from there, we went into pre-production like towards the end of 2020, started developing all of those things. And then at the top of 2021, still within the pandemic, we started going into production. So like into January, we started shooting for the film. So it was 2 weekends, 2 full weekends that we did, like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday for the most part, through January, and then one other makeup shoot that was like in the beginning of March. But pretty much the film was done and submitted for film festivals like by spring of 2021. So it was a pretty quick turnaround from like pre to post production.
Yeah.
And then the album came out in July of 2021. But the short film wasn't out publicly yet. So we started doing film screenings like to privately show them and kind of like garner support that way. And submitting to film festivals and kind of going on a short film festival circuit, and then released the film publicly at the end of 2021. So all of that was pretty much from, like creating the inception of the idea and the songs like 2018 to the end of 2021 was like from the start to like the everything being released. So.
Yeah.
And that's honestly, that was really quick turnaround considering all the things that we had into play. But
Well, especially like post COVID too. I feel like so many projects got cut or postponed. So really kudos to you and your team for
Thank you. Yeah.
sticking to it and putting it out.
Yeah. And it's like, since that was my latest album, 2021 was about 12 years into like my career as a recording artist. So I've been well into like the familiarity of like making full-length albums, building concepts around albums, to where it's like I knew I wanted to do something really ambitious because I've already had the experience of making albums under my belt.
Yeah.
To where it's like, it's hard to do that if you're trying to execute that with your first project. It's like
100%.
just trying to establish everything, resources, the vision, like branding in itself is really hard. So
With that project in particular, what was your process, I guess, for funding? Like,
yeah, so for funding, I work a day job, so
Yeah.
like, and I've always been an advocate of artists not quitting your day job. Like, obviously, like everyone has their own journey, and I feel like it's very humbling and rewarding for anyone to experience the you know, the feeling of being able to quit your job and be an artist full time for however long or short that may be.
Mhm.
But also that led to a lot of experiences of me seeing the other side of things, and like how expensive and how tedious it could be, like as an independent artist,
Yeah.
not really having that capital, or you know, not knowing when your next paycheck can be, and doing gig work and things like that, to where it's like I've really started to like appreciate job security and just being able to like have the capital to be able to fund and put on cool projects, because it's like nothing's getting cheaper, everything's getting more expensive
Right.
when it comes to resources, and just the entry point from for being a like independent artist is very low, like it's very low entry point, but to sustain and really like develop a brand that you really like want to like have others like believe in, like that takes a lot of time, money, and resources. So a lot of the funding had just been from me saving, doing a lot of you know, payments and budgets towards a lot of these type of
Right.
projects, because it's like trying to fund all these things up front, it's like it's not possible, especially in this economy with the level of artists that we're at.
Mhm.
um, but also just getting help as well from like one of my main producers on the album, Tyree. Like him and I pretty much went halves on the funding for the short film, because we believe like this was a piece of work that we both like were invested in and
Right.
really had, you know, a connection with. And it's like now this is something that'll always live within, you know, my catalog and our catalogs as a whole, to where it's like, you know, putting forth that effort and intention and just financial backing behind it. It's like it might seem like a lot and tedious in the moment, but it's so rewarding when you see like the final product, and you know, just being able to look back on things and be proud of, you know, the artist that you are. So
Absolutely. Because I know there's so many different ways to go about it. Like some people do crowdfunding, some people it's
hmm
like you're well connected, and some people are willing to just like support the
exactly,
project. So it's like each thing can look so different. But I'm like,
exactly.
man, post COVID plus like this big of a project, I'm like,
Yeah,
how
yeah.
neat.
Um, yeah, it's definitely something that you kind of gotta get the hang of, like, you know,
Hmm.
managing over time. So
Yeah. So your mask is applied. This will dry down, so it might start feeling a little bit tight as it starts to dry. That's completely normal.
cool.
This is gonna help draw out any excess oil or impurities from the skin.
Yeah, my nose been getting a lot of blackheads, so
We'll take
that's gonna
care of
help.
it.
Yeah, typically pretty oily skin, but like the dryness out here doesn't really help.
Yeah.
When I visit family and a lot of stuff in like New Orleans and whatnot,
Hmm.
it's where a lot of my family's from. It's like the humidity is just, it does wonders on my skin.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, it's just, I'm like, damn.
I notice it in my hair too. I'm like, anywhere it's somewhere humid, I'm
Yeah,
like, everything's looking better,
yeah,
feeling better.
it's so much healthier. Yeah.
How long have you been in Seattle?
So I've been in Seattle pretty much the entirety of my adult and like older teen years. So I went to school out in Bremerton area, but like upon graduating high school, like I knew I wanted to pursue music, and just that wasn't the area to be able to do that. So I graduated young because I was younger for my class. So at 17, ended up moving out here to Seattle, and pretty much have been out here for the past 13 years. I'm going on 30 this year.
Wow.
So yeah, just been able to really like develop pretty much a majority of my time as an artist out in Seattle. So yeah, Seattle's home.
That's such a cool perspective to have,
Yeah,
entering the industry at that age and then not having to really bop around. Like,
yeah. Yeah, it's like I've always had moments of where I wanted to venture out in LA and like, you know, kind of do that, and like I still, you know, have plans and like here and there like want to like have those type of opportunities to take, but it's cool because I've been developing just a network out there and just a lot of resources to where it's like it's a quick trip to be able to just go out there and work
Yeah.
too. So even if I'm not out there, it's not the end of the world. So
Like, luckily, Seattle's pretty central. Like, it's not too
yeah.
bad to bop around. All right, I'm gonna let your mask finish processing, and I will switch our cameras out, let you kind of be mellow for a couple minutes. How do you feel about collaborating in the music space? I know you've done a couple features and stuff like that.
Um, as a whole, I love the collaboration. Like, are you asking like how is it within our scene as a whole?
Yeah, because I feel like there's so many different ways to collaborate. Like, it's not always a feature on a song. It could be, you know, just like multiple hands in the pot.
Yeah.
Do you have a preference on how you like to collaborate?
I don't actually. I'm open to collaborating in a lot of different ways, and I feel like being able to allow yourself to be open allows room for ideas to come about that you would never really imagine sometimes. So, like there's different ways in which I collaborate, where I will like create the concept or vision for something, and then bring someone into it, and let them know what I have intended for it, or creating something entirely from scratch with another artist, being able to just brainstorm together and like especially with a lot of just a lot of that for me I feel like happens when it comes to a lot of film stuff because I know there's just a lot of people who like devote their lives to film and like know the technicalities behind a lot of film things that I don't,
Yeah.
to where it's like I can like voice what I envision in a way that they can comprehend and put it into technical terms, or
Sure.
be able to expand on what type of like foundation ideas and things like that that I have, to really like bring bring it full circle. So
How did you enter into the film space?
so initially, I just found interest just when choosing electives within high school.
Okay.
And from just doing video production in high school, I used to do the broadcast program as well, like from the production, and also being an anchor as well for my high school, and
Cool.
also did just little video projects. But also too, I was a musician pretty much all throughout high school, to where it's like I always wanted to have videos, and like also just growing up just like seeing a lot of videos like just on MTV, VH1, like knowing that a lot of the things like I consumed when I was younger like really resonated with me, and now are kind of like resurfacing its way in my artistry. I feel like it's really cool to see.
Do you have a proudest DIY video film project that you have created?
Probably not. I've never really done anything too DIY myself.
Okay.
But definitely, matter of time, I would say I really am proud of that project because I feel like, um, I feel like a lot of my work, to me, from my perspective, like it feels kind of dated, but not in a bad way. Like you can just really tell the time music or sound was at
Yeah.
with a lot of my like older projects. But I feel like from like for a matter of time, from like a film perspective, like I feel like it's really like a timeless piece, to where it's like uh a lot of the subject matter that is tackled really like highlights a lot of things that have been going on and currently have, towards it finds a way to stay relevant for better or for worse. But um it's a really good piece that I feel like stands the test of time. So
So on YouTube, you have another little segment called Campgrounds.
yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about how you got started with that?
Yeah, so like a little before the pandemic, with like going more on just brand development, I've always wanted to kind of like have like something like as an umbrella company in a sense, like around my brand to kind
Yeah.
of really like, and I feel like it's really been easier for like people or to garner support from people if like they're supporting something that they feel like they can be a part of more than like a person in a
Yeah.
sense. uh I feel like just the camaraderie just behind that just perspective I feel like sits well with a lot of people, just like with sports it's like feeling like you're a part of the team. So I really came up with like the name Campgrounds that I wanted to brand just my artistry and just put my business under. And then like under that umbrella, just have just different things that kind of tied to my brand, but also like branded around just the campgrounds theme.
Mm-hmm.
And so, uh, like there was a couple like times during the pandemic where there's a lot of just like DIY at home like videos that people were doing. Like when it started, like people were making like a lot of beat videos or production videos of them like making beats or songs from scratch or like performing in front of like their iPhones or whatever the case is. So I did a couple different videos where I first highlighted the campgrounds performances, and this was like back in 2020, and they're just like little just makeshift ones that I like had Tyree like send like iPhone videos of and then stitch them together with mine to kind of like show like the production and just the vocal angle
Yeah.
from just like that pieces of content. And then like kind of like sat on that idea and like pushed it to the side. But then like coming back into like 2023 when I started releasing music again last summer, I know like when developing like my content strategy, I wanted to do more with like being able to brand different things around my music without having to release music all the time.
Right.
So like with a lot of my recent and current releases, I've been doing these campground sessions behind to where it's like I play with my full live band, do more of a stripped down performance around the songs, kind of like Tiny Desk oriented.
Yeah.
And like really trying to brand like my live representation in that light for those who may not be able to make it out to a show. They'll be able to like kind of experience that perspective of what it kind of feels like to be at a live show, but also for those who are just online and like resonate with my music who aren't in Seattle or just anywhere around the world, they can get a feel and a taste for like this city and what that's like around here. So
For anyone who hasn't been to one of your shows, can you give us an idea of the overall vibe that you try and curate?
yeah, so I really like to have like people leave with feeling like they got a rewarding experience. So I really try to like just going back to what I was speaking about earlier, just
Mm-hmm.
really trying to put my personality into just my performances and what I do with the presentation of things because people really like to connect with the person aside from the art.
Right.
So really just trying to be as personable as possible, and really trying to you know maybe give them a different perspective or a different sound of a song that they might not hear on the recorded studio version. Play out longer outros, do more jams, things like that, more crowd participation, and really try to make it like a very like comfortable, like familial, like atmosphere. Make
Yeah.
everyone feel like they're at home, can vibe, can dance. a lot of people like feel conflicted sometimes when coming to my show because like I have a lot of just songs that you can vibe and like really want to dance to, but at the same time they're like they want to pay attention to what I'm saying as well. So they're like it's so hard to like be able to dance sometimes because I really want to like be able to hear what you're saying. And you know I get it because sometimes it is hard to multitask when you're you know having a good time and dancing, really trying to like consume a message, and you know obviously that's a little more difficult for like folks who like were to come to my show or experience me from the first time, but it's always a vibe for you know my frequent fans who you know pop up to shows who are familiar with you know what I bring to the table. So
For sure. How's everything feeling?
it's feeling great.
Good.
I know time's just flying. I know I'd be asleep if this weren't anyway.
Yeah, everything looks really good. Right, I'm gonna put a little bit of lip balm on you, and then I'll bring the mirror around so you can take a peek and see how things are looking.
Cool.
Like, I have so many more questions, but I don't want to get on a tangent.
No, no worries.
We'll continue.
Yes.
Alrighty, I'm gonna bring this mirror around and you can take a peek when you're ready.
Oh damn. Yeah, it looks sparkling. Got me looking like a bad bitch. Cool.
Everything looks really good. Nice and clear.
Yeah. I love it.
Good. And then everything on your skin, it can be left on, so you don't need to cleanse again till tomorrow.
Oh, cool.
Which is great. You do have an enzyme on your skin that gets left on, so it's going to continue to work even after you leave.
Oh, damn,
so
it's doing its thing.
It is. It's going to be even more glowy tomorrow, which is what we like. So perfect. Well, I will give you a few minutes to get changed and comfy, and then we'll continue on the chairs.
Cool.
Right. We've made it back to the chairs.
Yes, we are here.
How are you feeling after your facial?
Feeling good. I feel like a new person.
New skin, new
yeah.
person. I've been dying to ask you this since you got here. I think we all watched Kendrick Lamar.
Yes.
Do you think Drake ever has a chance of rallying
Absolutely
back?
Absolutely not. I do not think so. I feel like Drake's always going to be popping, but I feel like the level of pop stardom, I don't feel like he'll ever have a hit the same way.
No.
After this, it's like kind of hard to recover after what transpired. So, but I've always been Team Kendrick. So.
Thank you, thank you. I feel like we definitely watched a moment in history, and I'm happy we all got to
witness
see
that,
it. And I'm like, oh. What was the tally at? I think we were at 5 plays, 6 plays by the time, because we had the walk off, and I'm like, okay, he's done. Nathan and I were watching, and he's like, Drake's gonna say something. He's gonna drop tonight, and I'm like, what is he gonna say?
Yeah, there's nothing.
There's nothing
like
left to say.
I mean, it's not like he hasn't dropped or been on a couple songs since the whole beef transpired. So. I don't think it's looking the same.
I think it's done.
Yeah.
Like, it was like the ultimate mic drop, and we're done.
Yeah.
I'm like, even Snoop had something to say afterwards. I'm like, oh, well, it's done. It's a full wrap.
Exactly. So, yeah, I guess we'll see. Like I've been saying, I was like, I don't think Drake's going to make it out of 2024.
No.
And I think it might still ring true, so we'll see, though.
I think he's retiring. I'm curious too. This was like a huge thing of the summer. I feel like following this rap battle. Is there anything you think that could potentially happen similarly in the Seattle area?
No, I don't think so. I think maybe years ago.
Okay.
But I feel like there's a lot of togetherness in the community now, to where I don't feel like it would be anything bad blood oriented.
Right.
But who knows? Like, there's room for a lot of it, but.
I know. I feel like overall we've come a long way, and most of the community in the music space is very much supportive and like wanting to collaborate and lift everybody else along.
Yeah, I don't really feel like we have problems too much with like people actively trying to like be in a spotlight that they're undeserving for, to where it's like there's a lot of folks that can critique that, like in the sense of Drake, I feel like.
Sure. What about the reverse? What could you see happening locally that may not be a positive? Instead of like a bashing battle, we have something else. Like, I know we've done a cypher here before. Can you envision anything happening in the next year or so? Careful what you want to speak into existence.
I'm not sure. I feel like just more eyes just on the city as a whole. I feel like we've been active. A lot of artists who've been active, not only active though, like a lot of good artists have been active. I feel like there's been a lot of artists in Seattle who, you know, I feel like hadn't really had music that could be consumed to a mainstream level, because, you know, Seattle does have a niche sound, but also at the same time I feel like our sound is evolving more to become more digestible at a mainstream level, to where it's like there's more room for that to thrive, as far as like having more eyes on the city, because there's so many more prominent artists who are really putting out good art.
Yeah. As someone who's been in the scene and in the area for a little while, is there anyone on your radar as like these are the ones to watch on their come up, where you're like, okay, I'm starting to see some things happen, I can like first see the trajectory for them to pop?
Yeah, definitely Oblé Reed, Yanni. They're like two of the main like younger cats like in the rap hip hop space.
Sure.
That I feel like they've been putting out really consistently good art, to where it's like I can see that like bubble outside of Seattle industry.
Yeah.
And they have kind of been seeing those fruits of their labor from like a digital perspective, like being able to like build fans outside of Seattle.
Yeah.
Definitely those two. There's a lot of R&B artists like Deja, Talea, Charles Zade. I know there's a lot more, but there's a lot of good music. I feel like within the scene, to where it's like it's just a matter of people staying consistent and really,
for sure,
you know, not really allowing like all the external factors to influence how they make music. Because like I've been making music for so long, especially within the Seattle space, that I want to say 80% of the artists that I've started out here making music with, not with, but making music within the scene around the same time, are not making music anymore.
Really?
So it's like a lot of the newer artists, like I still get grouped in with a lot of them, because it's like I'm still being heavily consistent with things I'm doing with my brand. And for me, I feel like a new artist. I feel like I haven't really started hitting a stride really until I want to say like 2018, 2019. But at that time, it was already, you know, 9 years deep into me recording music from mouth to mic. So, yeah, it's exciting to see like where my trajectory could take me, and also just with all the new eyes being put on the city, being able to, you know, kind of take advantage of those moments as well, because of still being able to be so consistent.
Well, I think that consistency keeps you relevant, no matter how long you've been in it, as long as you're consistent and you're keeping that trajectory.
Exactly, and continuing to grow as an artist and really be able to allow people to see the growth, like, because it's easy to be like, oh, I've been doing this for so long, but if you don't really have things to show for it, it's like, what does that amount to?
Yeah.
So it's like, I feel like I really have a lot of moments within my career to where it's like, at certain parts, people can like go back and listen, and then listen currently and really see that growth.
Yeah.
As artists, so.
Well, and your single's out now.
Yes.
Is there more in store in the year of 2024?
Yeah, so...
Is it more things piggybacking off of this single?
So 100% am dropping an album this year. I've been working on it pretty much since Matter of Time. Some of the songs I've written before Matter of Time in 2021. So it's been a lot of work just going into this new album. I feel like the sound's becoming more cohesive, just the tone and delivery with a lot of the things I'm saying has become way more sharp and, I want to say, digestible in a sense.
Okay.
But also, you know, I'm just getting older and more mature, and I'm finding a lot of more things to speak about and really want to like spread light and awareness to where I feel like even from that perspective, from just a lyrical standpoint, a lot of people will be able to see that maturity with me growing as an artist. So
do you feel like there's an overall tone or message that's alongside with this next project?
Yeah, so I would want to say it's definitely a lot of more R&B, jazz, upbeat, heavy, a lot of more like older school vibe, like early R&B, hip hop. So a lot of the stuff I grew up on and always have been a fan of. But also a lot of the subject matter just tackles relationships for the most part. I feel like I haven't really had a project incomplete where I've been able to like just speak about relationships and love and things like that. And I feel like I've now just as a person have gone through and experienced so much within relationships to where it's like, I feel like people have gotten like songs here and there, like within a lot of my albums and projects, but really haven't been able to sit with like a full body of work that's really built conceptually around it. So it'll be interesting. Definitely not necessarily new as far as sound or subject matter, just going more in depth into a lot of those concepts that I've explored in the past.
It sounds like there was like a crack and people have been like picking it open, and this, it's like finally we get the full picture.
Because honestly, I feel like a lot of people's favorite songs of mine in the past have been a lot of more like the love or relationship leaning type tracks. So really also being able to like get that fan feedback and really like see what resonates with a lot of my fans and like what a lot of they like to consume from me helps like kind of like go towards that direction in a sense while also still wanting to do what I want to do at the same time.
Is there anything that particularly inspires this type of writing?
Not I want to say a lot of my experiences, but also other people's experiences and things that I experience within relationships in current day. And I don't want to give the title away too soon, but there is like a lot of the singles that I've been dropping are going to be included on the album, and a lot of them pretty much conceptually tackle the same thing, like On Site, Any Minute that just came out, Daffodil. They're all like different stories about love and relationships that tackle like a different side. So, yeah.
So it's like slowly creating the full picture as and but also like within the concept in the name of the album, it's so broad and general to where it's like I'm still tackling just other subject matters within the album as a whole to where it still is cohesive to the overarching message, to where, you know, I speak about just within a lot of my music just this disparities within the Black community and just what it means to be Black in my existence here, and just being able to develop a stronger just political lens and just knowing what that means on a global scale, just being able to like put that into my music and really allow that to be like a stepping stone
for others to really, dig in more to what it is that, I find and feel so important about and why I put it in my music.
Right.
So.
I know, that's some big shoes to fill.
Yeah, definitely. But it's like, anyone who's been listening to my music know I've never shied away from just speaking out and really, being vocal about things.
Sure.
So it'll be refreshing to get new listeners and new fans and really, be able to have them experience that as well, because I feel like there's definitely a void, especially within hip hop and rap, that I feel like can be filled and still has room to be filled. And like, there's just a lot of going on to where there's a lot that's not being tackled just lyrically. And I feel like there's a lot to be addressed and, to learn more about. And that's just where the fundamentals of just hip hop derive from. Like, just being able to speak on experiences and, whatever was happening within your immediate areas or whatever was happening on globally, and being able to speak and refute just the systems at hand that, contribute to that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. As this next project approaches, do you feel like this last large project kind of looms in the background of like, okay, this is another big thing, it's my first like huge drop in a minute? Do you feel like there's anything in particular that's going through your mind as you're preparing for that? Or are we thinking like totally different vibe where it's like they'll be holding their own?
I think it's a little different going into this one, because this is like the first time where I've been as consistent on the strategy content front than I had before. Like, I've always been consistent, but like, I've developed like to where it's like I'm more active. And so it's like, even from that standpoint, like, I've been dropping singles pretty consistently since last summer, and this is like the first time in my career where I've dropped music so frequently.
Yeah.
And so like, going into an album, I've been developing more engagement around my music, more fans coming in around my music, to where it's like, I don't feel as surprised going into like dropping the album, because people have already been experiencing me dropping music so frequently. Right. So to be able to drop an album, I feel like we'll just be able to get them on board with just who I am as an artist as a whole, because like, singles only really give you a glimpse. So like, really to give someone a full body of work, especially someone who's a new listener, will even allow them and want them more so to dive back into your older catalog and things like that. So I'm excited about that.
I'm excited too, and I feel like the whole waterfall method of releasing is my favorite. Yeah. Because I feel like everybody's attention spans are so short nowadays.
Exactly.
We're like big on TikTok, where everybody's like scrolling, and half of it's not even getting its fair watch time.
Exactly.
So it's like, especially as a newer artist, like, doing just like single EP, it, I think, is so much more digestible for that kind of.
And as an artist too, it allows you that much more room to like focus your energy on a single and really do the best that you can to put behind that. And also too, like, just understanding that you can promote the songs forever. Like, when they're out, like, people are so like stuck in their head or whatever type of situation that they would be annoying or trying to promote something new. But it's like, the only way you're going to get people to see stuff is if you're continuing to post. Like, I found the beauty in that, consistently posting often, because it's like, there's not a time where I do post that I don't get some sort of new engagement, at least from one person. So it's like, there's at least going to be, especially with the way that the algorithms and everything are set up nowadays, a lot of it is catered towards new discovery and like people being able to find people who aren't in their immediate like echo chambers. To where it's like, it rewards that consistency for posting so often, because that's what keeps people in the app. And so just being mindful of that, and even with like the waterfall method and approach that you're talking about, like when a new single comes out, like being able to repackage that with all of the prior singles to where it's like new listeners coming into that single will be able to, listen to all of the other singles in recent time to where it's like you're developing that engagement, getting people prepped for whatever it is that may come. So
for sure.
And while in the background, still being able to devote that time to the full length album to where it's like you're holding people over.
Exactly. Well, and it keeps so many more people engaged, and I think it's something too. It gives each song its time to shine.
Exactly. Yeah, and the time to continuously keep promoting it. Like, there's no reason that you shouldn't be promoting a song, and like that's why I started making videos to songs I've even had come out in 2018, like the Pressure on Them video I had come out in April. That song dropped on my Making Ends Meet EP that came out in 2018, but there's a lot of music that I have important in my catalog that I'm like, I feel like people need to hear this.
Yeah.
And now knowing that people listen with their eyes nowadays, really trying to put that in front of people's faces, and it's like, I'm gonna have this in my catalog forever. Like, and I can continue working on and ironing out whatever it is that needs to be for whatever's coming next. But I still have so much stuff in my back catalog that can be promoted. So
I believe it.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips or tricks for social media that you would like to share and give a glimpse?
Yeah, so pretty much like a couple of the main things I was mentioning, like just being consistent with like a content strategy, like really developing what your brand is for you and like finding what makes your brand personal to you, and really trying to like lean into that when it comes into your content. It's like if you're a rapper, filmmaker, content creator, influencer, it's like you can find something that's pretty unique to you and kind of look at other content creators who are in that same space and kind of like get influence from their ideas, take it back into your own matters, and just finding ways to really stay on people's timelines. Because it's like you can just be as easily remembered as you can be forgotten, especially in this day and age. And it's like if you're not staying in people's face, it's easy to, get pushed to the wayside. So just trying to find ways to stay consistent in that front. But a lot of that comes with batching content. So it's like if you're like, oh, I'm not at a space right now where I can drop stuff consistently for a month, cool, be doing all of that right now to develop that back catalog so you can do that. And so in 3 months from now you'll have 3 months worth of content to where it's like you're working on the next stuff 3 years prior to coming out, to where it's like you have all this time to stay ahead of yourself consistently, to where it doesn't lead to burnout. It doesn't feel like you're overworking yourself and really trying to work on something that you need to release next week. And it's like, that's what happens a lot of the times that contributes to burnout. But also it's like, you gotta just learn what works for you. And if you know something resonates with people that you're doing, lean into it. And just don't give up. I feel like I'm still such a brand new and fresh artist to the world, to where it's like I feel like I could do this for another 10 years, and if like whatever that moment is for me happens, so be it, but I'm having fun in the process. So.
Yeah, that's what's important.
Yeah.
I think that's what keeps it fresh and exciting too. It's like if once you do experience that burnout, I feel like it can be a little bit difficult to recenter and feel energized and excited again once you cross that bridge.
Yeah, definitely.
If there's anybody who wants to work with you or collaborate with you, what's the best way to reach out? Or
usually, I mean, hit me up on Instagram or email. Usually is the best method. And it's like I'm all about the music. So if it's a good song, I'm gonna collaborate. If it fits, and if it's what like caters towards my brand as a whole. But it's all case by case basis, It's like I do understand like me being an artist is a service as well. But also I love being able to develop those interpersonal relationships with people to where things can just happen naturally when it comes to collaborations and things like that. And it's like, obviously I'm not just allowing any and everybody to have access to me you know, still being able to be, you know, have those boundaries established, but
Yeah.
also being able to have the ball in my court a lot of the times nowadays when people reach out to me to know, like, and have that discernment, or if, like, this makes business sense for me.
Sure. I hear that. If everybody wants more
Yeah.
of you, what should everybody look up?
Yeah, so you can find me on all streaming platforms at Campana, so Campana, Apple Music, Spotify. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all of those at Campana Zone. Yeah, I got videos, campground sessions, so live performances. I got a lot of new stuff coming soon, and any minute's out now, so you can go stream that and watch the video on YouTube. And yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining me.
Yeah,
This has been a
thank you.
pleasure, and I'm excited to see what comes for the rest of the summer.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Summer bops are coming our way.
Yeah, it's that time. I feel like everyone wants, especially upbeat music, especially
Yeah.
coming out of pandemic. I feel like we've had years of time that we gotta make up for.
We're
so.
officially in summer. Our
Yeah.
gray should be going away.
Yeah.
We're ready for our month or two of sunshine. We
Yeah.
need to enjoy it while it's here.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm excited to hear more. Thanks
All
again
right.
for joining me.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next time.
Yeah, we'll see ya.